Hi, and welcome everyone to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I am a bereavement specialist. Hello, Susan. How are you?
Hello, Lisa. So nice to see you. I'm doing well. I'm Susan Capurso, End of Life Doula and Legacy Specialist. And I'm very excited today. We have a great guest here. Today, Lisa and we have the privilege of hosting a truly remarkable individual. Adam Walsh. So, Adam is a senior living placement advisor, helping families to find the best assisted living, memory care, or independent accommodations for seniors, an important thing in today's world. Adam brings his expertise and history to working with individuals and their families through many different stages of their lives. So, to know Adam is to love Adam, and I've had the privilege of getting to know him over the past couple of years. His dedication to assisting families during a rough and what can be a very overwhelming time in life is extraordinary. Adam helps families narrow their focus to help find the right level of care and to identify communities that are the right fit for your individual needs and unique circumstances. So I believe I have to throw this in there because I do know Adam. What sets him apart is his insider knowledge of the senior care market, ensuring that families are equipped with valuable insights and guidance throughout their decision-making process. And with a career that spans in special education, adult disability support, and a decade-long tenure in Medicare, Adam brings a wealth of experience and expertise to his role as a senior living advisor with Oasis. And I really feel, life brings us on our journeys to certain places in life. And I feel like this is really where Adam was supposed to be. But beyond his professional accomplishments, Adam's personal connection to the senior world is deeply rooted in his love for his grandmother, who he holds dear as his favorite person in the world. And that profound connection fueled his passion for enhancing the quality of life for seniors. And it's a passion that's led him to transition from the assisted living world to his current role as a senior living advisor. So, lastly, Adam's commitment to serving the senior community is not just a career choice in my eyes, it's a calling born from genuine empathy and a desire to improve the quality of life for seniors. So, I'm happy you joined us today and listen in as we dive into the wisdom and the insights that Adam Walsh can bring to the realm of senior care and living solutions. So thank you, Adam, for joining us today.
You are absolutely very welcome, and thank you for perhaps the nicest introduction I think anyone's ever given me. And it is
You're
an
very
absolute pleasure.
welcome.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here with both of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you because I really believe in your service and the things that you're doing in the community. And it's just helping so many people. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I was at a barbecue, a Father's Day barbecue. My husband passed a while ago, so we don't do Father's Day here. But my son's girlfriend's family invited me. And it ends up that after our call today, remind me because her grandmother and grandfather are in need of your services right now, as are so many people on Long Island. So tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you to here, if I didn't mention it in your introduction.
No, I mean, I do. I think that was such a thorough breakdown of what sort of brought me to today. But I think in a nutshell, I have always been somebody who is looking for a way to help wherever that opportunity might present itself. And when I had left college, I have a degree in public relations, though I can't speak to any particular public relations role I've ever had. I think it's been a factor in all of my roles, even if it hasn't been exactly what I was there to do. I lucked into the world of special ed. My mother had been a special ed teacher for about 30 years. I was looking for a way to start working after college, and I wasn't really hyper focused or committed to a particular career path yet. And there was a chance for me to do some work in a self-contained autism classroom. And that was really sort of and just a paradigm shift for me. I loved working with people. I love being helpful. But communication is something I'm very passionate about. And in teaching and supporting individuals with autism, so much of your day is trying to bridge a communication gap that just doesn't really have a roadmap or a translation. And so discovery, right? What I've now come to learn is the idea of doing discovery with somebody where you do get to understand their biggest concerns, their wants, their needs. Um, so much of what we were doing in those classrooms was discovery, trying to use observation and repetition and try to understand what will be our common language and how can we connect and how can we support somebody who's unable potentially to communicate traditionally what they're needing or what they're wanting in any given moment. So I absolutely loved that. But without a clinical degree, without a teaching license, I was somewhat limited professionally with what I could do there. And the world of adult disability gave me some more options. So when I moved out to Long Island, I managed a group home with United Cerebral Palsy for a little while. That was sort of my first introduction into the adult disability space. I felt more comfortable in the day service area, so I was able to move into a role focusing on supported employment. Just this belief that everyone's got something to contribute, and if we just can do a little bit of work up front, tailoring a role, we can, create actual work. And that was always a big thing for us. Volunteering is great, but work is work. It should be a trade of my time and services for a certain amount of money that we all agree is equal. And it's something that I think is really important. So I love doing that as well. But again, kind of hit a little bit of a ceiling career-wise there, and felt compelled to look into sales. I kind of knew that the world of sales would probably be a realm in which I could be successful, but it was very important to me to be selling the right thing. And after getting my insurance license, Medicare was just the perfect fit for me because primarily my job was to teach people what their options were. Everyone gets Medicare, everyone needs something to go with it. And my job would be to help you understand what those options are and figure out what would be the best fit. And I think since then to now, that has been the fundamental description of what I do professionally, which is discover what somebody's needs and wants are, educate them on the options that are available to meet those needs and wants, and connect them with those people based on the network and resources that I've put together. That fundamental aspect of my job has not changed since then. It's just I'm helping people at different stages in their life. I will admit, if no one here will hold it too closely against me, when I started in Medicare, I thought 65 was old. I was I was mistaken. Obviously, that's not
Oh
old.
my gosh.
That's not old at all. Right now I feel like, okay, now I have a better understanding of the fact that if we are lucky, this life is long and there's a lot of stages and a lot of chapters, and the needs and the desires and what you're looking for to feel fulfilled are going to change pretty dramatically as those pages turn. So it's not enough to do discovery and understand somebody's needs and wants once. It's something that needs to be checked back on and to make sure that we're still aligned with how we feel today about what our needs and wants are.
Nice.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
So
me.
you,
That's
you
that's what
see
that's
the
what,
same theme. Yeah. And that's why I mentioned earlier that I felt that this was the perfect fit for you because life comes full circle. And now
yeah,
you're really doing exactly what you've always loved.
absolutely.
But I think this is such a valuable way. Um, it's tough. It's tough, when people have to make decisions. This woman I was speaking to yesterday, she was in tears because of the changes that are happening in her life. Her husband has early dementia now and has memory care problems, and they're increasing each day. So just when he had come out to the barbecue, it was a little scary for her because these are things she's never been through before. But she's thinking, how am I going to take care of him for the next 20, 25 years of my life? And, to have the support and guidance, especially from a person who knows the industry and knows what you're doing and knows the where you can take her. Well, I don't want to go too far. So how does that play out now? How do you help families? And in what stage and when should you help them? And
Sure. Yeah, so the center post of what I do is to help people find an assisted living. But the reality of the circumstances are that if you are caring for, looking out for, have any feelings for, or responsible for anyone as they're getting older, there's going to be a gradual progression of needs and circumstances that need to be addressed. And I personally am a very big believer in the value of assisted living and communal living and the idea of recreating a village that the suburbs may have been our village at some point when we're fully mobile, when we can drive, when we have the support we need to access all the things outside of our home. But if mobility starts to become difficult, for example, and you live in one of these suburban neighborhoods, you may very well feel like you're isolated and stuck in that house. And all of those things that you used to partake in are just no longer accessible to you. Well, at an assisted living, what have we done, right? We've condensed the village into the building. So accessing opportunities to spend time with your peers, to have meals with your peers, to learn a new skill or activity where you might have had to get in the car or be driven to a community rec center. Well, if that's down the hall and there's an elevator and there's no physical barriers, for that reason, I'm a big believer in the value of assisted living. The reality, though, is there are some people who say, I am not ready for assisted living, and they're completely correct. Their circumstances would not be holistically improved by moving yet. But there's still some things that they need some support with. It could be companionship, it could be some physical care, it could be alterations to the house. So what I'd hope to think what I'd hope to think my real talent is asking the right questions to understand where are we today and what could we have in place tomorrow that would be an improvement. And maybe perhaps over time, we're going to get to that step where, hey, now it might make sense to go take a look at a more significant change, a bigger solution to a bigger problem, which would be moving from your home. That's not something I think should be entered into or done lightly. So what would happen, Susan, is if my phone rings and the person on the other end of the phone says, I'm so-and-so, and my friend said to give you a call, I'm really having a hard time with my dad. Okay, well, first thing we need to understand is, what does that mean? What were things like before you thought there was a problem? Describe to me the good times. Describe to me what things were like when nothing appeared to be wrong. I would like to know about what was the relationship like? What was your father's day-to-day? What were his goals? What was he working towards? And then let's move that forward to what started happening where you started to feel like maybe there is something wrong. What was that specifically? Was it finding him, maybe you went for your visits and you just felt like the house wasn't as clean as it used to be. Maybe his appearance is starting to shift or change. Maybe there's something in the personality or the conversation that's shifting. My interest is in doing a very, very deep dive on who this person is versus what were they like when you didn't think anything was wrong. I need to understand to some extent how far apart are we from the good times to now where you're calling a senior living professional for advice, and what exactly prompted you to make that call today. Because I think we all live with some suspicion sometimes about, hey, maybe things aren't as awesome as they used to be at my mom's house, but nothing's risen to the level of taking action. If you've called me, if you've taken time out of your day to dial my phone number, I'd like to know what specifically prompted that. Because there's a good chance that that's going to be an indicator to me of what type of solutions are we going to look at. And then where I hope to be effective is I can be a Rolodex for people, right? Google, we live in the age of information, but not the age of understanding. So all the information you need for how to care for your loved one exists. It's all out there already. But if you just type it into Google, between the sponsored ads, between the those less savory options of the internet, the odds that it's going to give you the right answer are very low. So
Right.
what I'd like to be, until AI, becomes as good as they think it is, between now and when AI takes over, I'd like to be that intelligence in this realm.
So a good deal of the challenges, the financial challenges,
Of course.
do you deal with all the financial implications and all that? I mean, it's very confusing for people and
Yeah.
very difficult. That's the
Yeah.
hardest part of the whole thing.
I know it. I know it. And so one of my favorite one of my favorite sayings is the best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. So when we talk about, again, if you put yourselves in the shoes of somebody who's just picked up the phone and called me, financial planning, we're probably not at that phase anymore, right? That was either something that did or didn't already happen. So where I can, I think, be of some value is in understanding what your financial resources are. Maybe I can help to kind of keep your focus in the realm of what's reasonable and what's affordable and what's going to work for you. So I'm knowledgeable enough to understand what our good options are at a variety of budgets. And again, I'm certainly well connected to the industry enough to get you with the right financial professional if that's necessary. Perhaps there is value in looking at qualifying for Medicaid. Perhaps there's value in something as simple as sometimes just readdressing your Medicare arrangement, believe it or not, can have a big outcome on your access to providers. So that could be something where obviously I'm a little more skilled to look at, but really it's going to be in my connecting you to the right service professionals for those types of issues.
I thought of two questions while you were just speaking. The first one, and I think I know the answer because you've addressed that a little bit, the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, somebody wouldn't just call you just for an assisted living. Could they call you to review their whole pie? But if they need like in-the-house resources, like 101 mobility, we know,
Sure.
where she can come in and put a stair lift in,
Yeah.
and that. Is that something you have your Rolodex? You mentioned the word Rolodex of
Right.
resources so you can find the right person to help them with their needs. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's when I'm speaking with folks in the community, and they'll ask me, what would I hear in a conversation that should trigger me to say, oh, you should call Adam and speak to him about this? And I tell them not to overthink it. If it's anything to do with the roadblocks, the obstacles, the barriers of aging, let me have that conversation. Let me take that phone call. Again, if it's not what I do specifically, I'm relatively confident that I'll know 2 or 3 people who are worth speaking to on that topic. So that access to resources. But beyond that, there are services in the world of adult care that people don't even know exist, let alone to ask for. So
Right.
really, it's the questions I'm going to be asking much more than the answers I'm going to be giving that I think is going to move us along the farthest in our conversation, right? If you
Perfect.
have a chance to speak with any of my former clients, they're going to tell you pretty universally, he asked a lot of questions, and questions that don't always appear to be relevant or direct, but they're painting a bigger picture. Because if we're really are going to look at assisted living, that is a 24-hour, 365-day a year solution. I better know more than just how you like to spend your afternoons. I better know more than what you want on the weekends, right? This is a complete and total solution.
Now, let me ask you this, not to interrupt, but you're
No.
mentioning assisted living, right? So what if somebody needs the next step, which would be a nursing home, or the step before, which is an independent living type of situation? Do you deal with all of those?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. And I think even something like independent living, I don't know if everyone always fully understands what the circumstances are that would make you look at an independent versus an assisted living. And for different people, that line is going to be drawn a little differently, but there's a good chance that in our conversation, we're going to kind of narrow that down, right? Independent living is obviously a great fit for somebody who's truly still independent, right? Maybe they want a little bit of support on the cooking or the cleaning, and they're looking for that social, that, it's the three C's, right? Cooking, cleaning, and company, right? If that's all you need to have a better day-to-day life, there's a good chance that independent living is a great option.
Well, I want that now.
Okay.
I want the cooking and cleaning part.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand. And Susan, for the right price, I promise you can have it. But we do have to keep everything in balance.
Right.
But, and maybe this is a little bit of bias coming out of 2 years with an assisted living. If you're at a spot in your journey where, and age really is just a number, and I know I don't have to tell you that. Like, I know you both understand that very well. Age is just a number, but if I'm speaking to somebody who's in their mid 70s and independent living looks like the right option because, again, they want the cooking, the cleaning, and the company, I think I'm pretty comfortable saying, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. You're ready to downsize. This is a great downsizing opportunity. It's going to make your life easy and it's going to enrich your day to day. Great. I really like that. If I'm speaking to somebody who's in their late 80s, and although they are still very independent and really are just right now in need of the cooking, the cleaning, and the company, I can't help but wonder if living independently at an assisted living is a better option for that scenario. Because I'm recognizing the reality. Moving is so disruptive in everybody's life, whether you're moving from a dorm room to your first apartment, in any step in the journey, moving is so disruptive. It's so stressful. I don't know that I'm going to suggest to somebody to move to an arena where if your needs were to elevate, your options for having those needs met are now going to be limited because they don't offer that service. Could it be better to be at an independent living and not need the care so that when you do need the care, it's just about turning the button on. You don't have to move again. You don't have to relocate. You don't have to pack. So that's where, but I'm not going to know that answer just based on somebody's age, right? It's going to be a
Right.
cue. It's going to be a cue. It's going to be a part of what's factored into that advice. But that's where those conversations really come into play. And that's why they're going to tell you, I asked a whole lot of questions because I want to know. I'd
And
hate.
it's all about the deep dive, like you said, and
Absolutely.
it's getting to really know a person and their family,
Hmm.
right? The extended family.
Exactly.
The second question that I had, you know, 2 days a week, I'm a legacy advisor for Brian Tully Law Group.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've experienced so much there over the last year. But the first 6 months of me being there, I visited every assisted living
Hmm.
on Long Island. And I want to address this point because it's so important. I had never visited assisted livings
Hmm.
before that. Okay. So I was a little nervous about it. I didn't know what to expect, but in my mind, it was going to be the old-fashioned nursing home of 30 years ago
Hmm.
when I was younger in my life. And I thought of a nursing home. And no, actually, you know where, I'll tell you where the thought came in because I was in flowers most of my career. Okay, so I had a florist and I had a delivery one day and the driver wasn't around. And I said to the girl in the shop, I'll take this delivery. It was over to a nursing home on the South Shore. And when I walked in that nursing home, honestly, it had to be the oldest nursing home around on Long Island. But it not only saddened my heart, but it wasn't very clean. It wasn't nice. It wasn't a nice space. It had a bad odor, and it was sad. Okay, so that's where my experience had come with this is what nursing homes are. Then I finally one day heard about the word assisted living, and I thought they were kind of the same thing. So being with Brian Tully, it really gave me, it helped me learn a lot about the world of assisted livings and nursing homes and independent livings. And I met with every director from every place, right? And I got to know them and I got to tour them. I want you to address this because I know I'm not the only one in the world who feels that way. And if you don't know, you don't grow and you're not aware of the options. Because even still today, when I talk to somebody, like the lady, the grandma yesterday, that was the thought that came to her mind. And she welled up in tears and said, I could never, ever have my husband go to a place like that. And that was her thought process as well. So address how different society is and how our communities are and how these places are so beautiful that, I'd like to put my name on the list, you know?
So you're absolutely right. And to kind of paint a picture of what that would look like from my side of the table, most recently, the last 2 years, I was with the Bristol, and I had the benefit of working in several of their properties. But I'd be sitting at my desk, and the phone would ring, and someone said, "Oh, I'm thinking about, this being a good option for my mom or my dad, but they're never gonna agree to it. They're never gonna. They've told me, oh, actually, and this may be more relevant for this crew here. The idea that one of the parents had passed away, and before passing, said to usually the oldest child, right, you're responsible for mom now, and no matter what, don't put her anywhere. You have to take care of her. You have to either take care of her in her home or move in with her or have her move in with you. But no matter what you do, please don't put her anywhere. And that even that term, even that phrase, put her somewhere, right? Like
We make
obviously
a sign about that, right? About choosing a nursing home, don't
it's
you?
right. It's such a big deal. Now I understand where that parent was coming from when they said that. What they were saying was, don't don't stash your mom away somewhere and forget about her, right? Don't don't allow her to be neglected or to be somewhere unsavory or unpleasant. That's a perfectly reasonable request, right? But to say to an adult child, you specifically with your two hands, with your back and with your knees and with your hips, you have to deliver every piece of care needed for your mom to make it from here to the very end. That's not what he said. That's not certainly not what he meant, right? He meant take care of your mom. Make sure she's okay. I'm not going to be here to do it. I need you to do this for me. And at the time, his impression of what our options were for a retirement home were not very good. He had every reason to believe that that was an unenviable path to walk. He was just mistaken. He just didn't know that assisted livings have basically become, I marvel at what is my assisted living going to look like, right? I assume it's going to be all virtual reality and who knows how cool, but we know that happier people are healthier people and healthier people need less. And there's a business argument to be made. I firmly believe that everyone in the senior care world is here for two reasons. One, it's a job and a career, but there's a second reason we're all here. We all are drawn to this field for some reason, something good, something we want to add to the world and benefit people who need it. Nobody Nobody wants to run a bad residential program. That's where you live, literally. That's what we call it. We say, where do you live? Your home, your residence is where you live. Nobody wants to run a bad one, so nobody set out to do that. And sure, some are going to be better than others, but I believe that by and large, the quality of the assisted livings on Long Island are very high. And really what we might be making our decision on is something much softer than that. It could just be a feel or culture, right? An assisted living in Massapequa might feel differently than one in Northport, right? There might be two different vibes, two different energies in those spaces. and one of them might be a better fit for your loved one, even though both of them can meet their needs perfectly, even though both of them on paper fit the bill, one of them just might feel a little bit better than the other. So I say all that to say this. As when I'd get that phone call and they'd say, I really think this could be a good option for my dad, but he's never going to agree to it. I say, okay, so does he like lunch? Well, yeah, he has lunch. Okay, so could I convince you guys to come in and sit in the dining room and have lunch together? Just the two of you. I don't have to sit with you. It's a low pressure way to kind of see the space and see what it is that it's like here during the day. And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, that pretty much did the trick, right? By the time we were having coffee, that father's now understanding that what he was picturing is not where we are and what we're doing. And sometimes that is a show don't tell option, right? You gotta go see it. Otherwise, you're just gonna think I'm selling it. You're just gonna think I'm hyping it up to something it's not. You can just come and see it. And I'll speak on behalf of all the assisted livings on Long Island. They'd all be happy to have you come in and take a look around, right? They're very proud of the environments they've curated here. So like everything else, it's just we believe what we believe until we're shown something different. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. I took a family to 2 places this weekend. They knew at the first one that that's where they were gonna go. And we walked out and they said, is there any reason why we shouldn't just cancel the second tour? I said, we can, but you've scheduled this time. We're ahead of schedule. Why don't we just go see it just so you have 2 points of reference? And sure enough, they were right, and it's fine. They went with their first choice, and that's great. But they loved what they saw at the second one and immediately started thinking of other people they knew where that one might be a better fit for.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a free roll for us. It was a chance to see a different space, a different operation, see how two different places that are the exact same product are doing it in slightly different ways to benefit different people. Because that's a lot of times this just comes down to where do you fit in the best.
And they're magnificent, in seeing such differences. Some are modern, and people, we're all different. We all like different colors that our houses are painted in, and then others are more homey. They're more homey, like your village, your community.
That was the exact breakdown of the 2 options we looked at. One looked like a country manor. One looked like an Upper West Side, luxury apartment building.
Right.
That's not a right or wrong. That's just different.
Right.
This person wants this style and this person wants that style, and everybody's right. We just want to have them in the right place. And again, goes back to those questions.
Right.
So I hate to bring it up again, but I'm going to, because money. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all in our 70s, my friends. Okay. And we're trying to figure out what's going to happen to us when we sell our homes and all that. And we've heard how much money this is a month. I mean, they're very steep. We don't all have all kinds of retirement incomes and pensions and everything else. Some of my friends do, but some do not at all. So what do you do about that incredible challenge for us to be able to find something that we can live in and go to, and options? I mean, it's very challenging.
I know it. You hit on a couple of really good points there. So the reality is that assisted living, by and large, is going to be a private pay option. There are a few, not as many as we need or would like. There are a few who can participate with Medicaid if you qualify for Medicaid, which is a very different part of the scenario. And for the rest of us, it really is to varying expenses, it's still a private pay option. I think realistically, the range we're going to be talking about for assisted living could be, if we're very selective and if we find the right one, maybe in the $3,000 to $4,000 a month, and with something like memory care, go all the way up, well past $10,000 a month, right? So there is at least, like all things, there is a range, right? And part of our conversation is going to have to include understanding realistically what's our budget, what's a sensible amount of money that we can say is good and will last the conventional wisdom for assisted living would be a stay anywhere from 3 to 5 years, right? We don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict out much further than that anyway. I think for most families, if we recognize that the finances are there to cover 3 to 5 years, that's worth it if the value of those 3 to 5 years is high, right? If we're offering somebody a dynamic day to day, if we're offering comfort and in some cases luxury, because for some people that's the value, right? Feeling like they're in a classy place gives them a better sense of self. Whatever it might be, there are a lot of options along that value line, right? So part of my job is to make sure I'm not showing you a Mercedes when we're shopping for a Ford, right? It's not in anyone's best interest to show you something that's just physically out of reach. The second part of that is really understanding what we talk about when we say expensive, because a lot of people have been, you referenced when we sell our homes, right? So by and large, the folks I'm going to be working with, the Long Island market, these are folks who've been living here in their homes for maybe 40, 50, or 60 years, right? And I fully respect and understand that the family plan at some point may have been to leave that property behind to the next generation. And I'm going to potentially have to bring to you the reality that the value of that home may very well be what's going to finance your ability to utilize assisted living for a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah, especially because we're living so much longer now.
Right, of course. Now, what I have to say is that for the folks who are in their 70s or in their 80s, by and large, you all did a fantastic job with your children. They're doing fine. And as much as they'd love to inherit that house from you, do they need it? In some cases, I'm sure, but in a lot of cases, no, we don't. And it's more important that that home that you've invested in and maintained and paid off, you earned that, right? That should be available to finance quite a bit of time in an assisted living when that time is appropriate. So I think that's a hard part of the conversation. I don't think everyone's always eager to hear that. But the reality is staying at home, bringing in care, paying taxes, meals, utilities, repairs, when we really break down what it costs to live in a home that's fully paid off, it's not zero, right? It's never zero. Even if you're way past having a mortgage, there's a certain cost of staying in your home. And as your care needs go up, that cost to stay in home starts to kind of amplify, because the other reality is, how do you manage in-home care if you're not near any public transportation and the care staff who's coming to you is going to use public transportation? What does that look like, right? So there's so many factors and features there where all of a sudden it's not more affordable to stay in the home, even though the home is paid off. It's never paid off. Anyone who owns a home knows it never stops. There's always something else that costs something. So when we talk about being on a fixed income does not equal low income. It just means you're not going to earn more money next month than you did last month. It's going to be the same. Well, if you're living somewhere where the bill is one bill, it's the bill for your food, your rent, your utilities, your taxes, your care, your medicine. It's all wrapped into one, and it's effectively the same thing every month. That's a very useful tool when it comes to budgeting and forecasting. So I'd love to tell you, Lisa, the answer to your question is there's a secret that we just didn't tell you yet about where to find all this extra money to pay for it, but that's not the case. Again, I hope that by the time somebody's met with me, I tell you, when I get a referral from an attorney or a financial advisor, right? I feel like I already know, okay, well, I'm going to be speaking to someone who's already taking, because you can't go back in time and reinvest that money. You either did it or you didn't. But goes back to the questions. So once I'm getting to know what prompted the call, why are we speaking today? What's the biggest concern? What's most important? What do you like the most? What would be a want, and what are our needs? Start to kind of prioritize that list in that order: want and then need, need and then want. We're also going to talk about affordability and financing. That has to be a part of our conversation again, just so that I don't lead you on a wild duck chase, you know.
Mhm.
And then I've also seen people with all the money to live in any place they could possibly want to for the next 30 years, and they're still so concerned, and so they're like, no, no, take me to this one. I know I didn't like the food, and I didn't like this, and I didn't like that, but it'll make my money go further. You
Mm.
know, I'd like to think that a part of my job is going to be to try to explain to that person, hey, spend it on you for your happiness. It's worth it. So that's that. I will admit that's a more pleasant conversation than the other way.
Can you just tell, man, great. I really appreciate you really,
You're so
honing in
clear.
on these things.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, really clear. So what's the business model? Like
Oh,
how do you make your
that's a
money?
great question.
What do you do?
That's a great question. So I'm pretty fortunate. In the world of senior care, the advisors, by and large, are franchise owners. In fact, there was an unbelievable professional with Oasis several years ago who brought Oasis to Long Island. Her name was Kim Bertolino, and tragically, she passed away very young and very unexpectedly. Um,
Tim was a friend of
since,
mine.
yeah, and
Mm,
since then, Oasis, so I'm an employee of Oasis. So I'm compensated two ways. I have a base salary, and if and when somebody does choose an assisted living that I have referred and brought them to, the assisted living pays Oasis a fee, and from that fee, I collect a bonus off of you know, that's my motivation to get out there and stay busy.
sure.
So that's my model. What that means is that it never costs the family anything to work with me, right? I am the service that I'm offering is, time with me and the ability to hopefully focus our search for assisted living and not waste any time around it, be more surgical with our choices. But it doesn't cost anything to the families. And if and when they do move into an assisted living, I'll ideally collect a fee for Oasis from that assisted living. And if they go some other direction, that's okay. That's really just my opportunity to provide, improve my value. And plus, again, I'm on salary, I'm on the clock. I'm being compensated to afford to have these conversations.
Does
That's
that also
wonderful.
does that also include independent living?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
And I have a question.
Sure.
So our channel, as you know, we focus on end of life, but the full spectrum of end of life. So this could be you have a diagnosis of 2 years ahead of you. It's through the whole journey.
Right.
It's through a person's passing, and then it's afterwards, working with families in grief and bereavement. So how does end of life factor into what you do, or it doesn't? I don't want to say it doesn't because immediately
No,
when
I
we
think it does.
video, a lot of people are going through these situations. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you sort of the good, the bad, the good and the bad of how that might factor in for us, right? The good is as someone's getting older, they're still active and engaged and happy and a part of their hobbies and lifestyles. They're still very much connected and engaged. And by moving to an assisted living or even an independent living, we've reduced some barriers that were and obstacles that were creeping up so that they can continue to be as active and engaged as they've always been. That's the good story, right? Where we are prolonging someone's ability to live the life they want to live, to be involved in what they want to be involved with, to spend their day the way they want to spend their day, not the way they have to, not the way they're forced to, but how they choose to. And they're already making those choices. So we're just helping them continue what they're already doing and removing some of the difficulties around that. That's the good. The bad is someone has not been thriving at all. And there is a certain amount of, I've given up on this, right? I've hit this age, I've hit these circumstances. My life is never going to get any better. And I've resigned to this being my life, my day to day. In that case, there is now an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity to reintroduce living into somebody's life because living is not a good description of how things have been for them recently. They've been surviving, perhaps, but not thriving and not living an enviable life. And if by making this move, this person can rediscover the things that made life worth living, and I don't care if they get 1 day out of 100, if they were in a position where they were going to get 0 days out of 100, where they were going to have that joy never, and I can get them somewhere, and even 1 out of 100 days, I know the value of that one good day. And then obviously our goal would be to hit that mark a lot more than 1 in 100. Because again, it may not be 30 for 30, right? We may not get a great day every day, but nobody in real life gets a great day every day. Into
Right.
each life, some rain's got to fall. We're not here this isn't utopia. We're not selling a dream, but the opportunity for happiness being returned to someone's life and then seeing it pay off and seeing the good day or the good afternoon, whatever it is, that's it. That's the point. Because yes, we are all going to die. No, I do not think we need to resign ourselves to that early. I think when the universe is ready for us, we're going to know. And between now and then, our job should be to either be having fun or to be learning.
I love that.
The
That
only
was
two
a
things I'm interested in
great
doing.
explanation, right? I couldn't have asked for
So I
a
think
better.
that's the role. And listen, that's not the role that assisted living serves, and that's the world that every service provider in the senior care world is trying to provide, right? Reducing the difficulties so that you can do the good things. That's it. We're just trying to pave the way to the good things. That's what
Mm,
we're all trying to do, I think.
yeah. Yeah. And that's what we
Does
talk
it
about
feel
here.
good to talk to Adam? He's a feel-good person. He makes me feel good when I talk to him.
No,
There's two comments that I want to make, not really questions, but one being on the independent living, okay, because I've visited a few of those. And the independent living, it was explained to me, like quite a few of the residents in that independent living have houses in Florida or have communities in Florida that they live in, and they're snowbirds, right? So they wanted to downsize their homes. And now they have this place, but now they can leave and feel good and it's safe and nobody needs to take care of their homes. It's like a landing point. And
yeah,
I loved that analogy that so many people are doing that because the place in itself was absolutely beautiful. It's like coming home to a resort or a
yeah,
hotel, or so that's wonderful to have that there. That was just a thought that crossed my mind. And then the other one was about yesterday and talking with her grandma again. And when I did mention some of the memory care places that I've experienced, she said to me, but he was so active his whole life.
mhm,
And I'm sure they don't have activities, and he's going to be left in a room in the corner by himself all the time. And he really is an active person. And right away, I thought of when I visited these communities,
mhm,
they have a half a wall filled with a ginormous calendars with
mhm,
the events that go on every single day, all day, several events. So you can stay as busy as you'd like or not if you're
yep,
a loner and you would like to be alone and spend time in your room, but they don't encourage that. They
right,
encourage you to stay active and to be a participant in life, just like
exactly,
you talk. Yeah.
exactly. No, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention those 2 points.
We have your
Go ahead.
contact information. That's important.
What was that, Lisa? I'm sorry.
Your contact information. Give
Oh,
everybody an
sure.
idea of contact.
Yeah, perhaps I'll share that with you. Maybe that can appear in the thing, but I think that the best way to get a hold of me, it's email is Walsh, Adam Walsh at youraosisadvisor.com. And yeah, perhaps I can send you a little blurb. In my email, actually, in the signature there should be my phone number, my website, and my email.
Give us that, your phone number so somebody can write it down that's listening in.
Certainly. Uh, don't laugh at me. It's a new phone number, so I didn't memorize it yet. Hang on. It's
That's okay.
It's going to be 516-675-5953.
Perfect. And I love what you said about at no cost to you, that you can
Yeah,
connect with them, feel out their situation, and it's not something somebody has to write you a check for when they leave you.
not at
So
all.
that's really beautiful.
Yeah,
And this
and
is so important. This is
the talking is the part of the job that I love the most. So I'm happy to have that conversation. And like I said, being a salaried employee, I'm literally on the clock. It is my job. I'm happy to do it. And obviously in this modern world, office hours aren't exactly so much a thing. So that's why I just say, call, text, or email. There's a good chance I can talk in the moment. And if not, I'm going to be back with you very quickly.
And that's why it was so important to do this video, because I would honestly say if you're not in this world, like
Mhm.
the way that I visited for
Right.
6 months, all of these facilities,
Communities.
communities. Why do I use that? Why did I use that word? I don't like that word. Communities,
That's right.
yes, that's the right word. So it, I think, unless you've done that, you just don't know,
Exactly.
and you don't know that a service like yours is available. How
Well,
many people are going to watch this video and not know that that service is available to them?
if they're not in the senior care world, all of them.
Right.
All of them. That's probably one of the biggest obstacles I'll be overcoming in this endeavor, right? Is everyone inside the senior care world knows what what it means to be an advisor. Nobody outside of this world would know. And that's
Right.
who I need to know, right? That's who I need to know. So really, that's why I keep my messaging very simple. If the issue has to do with getting older, just give me a call. Just give me a call and I will either provide the service you need or connect you with someone who does.
Right. Perfect.
excellent.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to let us know? I think you were pretty thorough, Adam, today.
If anyone is in need of a team to join for the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, we're going to have a team for the Eisenhower as well as the Babylon Belmont Park walks. So if
Perfect.
anyone's interested in participating and doesn't have a team to join, my team is wide open. Anybody's welcome.
Perfect. And I'm going to have you look at your phone and give me your phone number one more time,
Sure
because
thing.
that's important.
It's going to be 516-675-5953.
Perfect. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today
Thank you so
and
much for having
speaking
me.
about this. Such an important service that you offer. And
Well,
I'll be
you
sure to
both
let
as well.
everybody know. I need a stack of your cards now to carry
I'll
with
get
me.
I'll get them to you.
Great work and right
Perfect.
person for the right job. You can
Thank
see
you. Thank
the
you, Lisa.
kind of dedication that you have and who you are.
I appreciate it very much. It was absolutely great spending time with you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. You take
Absolutely.
care. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Bye.